Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.
Yo, peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings, family. Everybody that's out there listening. This is Brother Banya, Brother Ibrid, and Brother Kadar right now with another quick hitter for you. All right, so the title of this is Abu and UA, Why Y'all Running? All right. As you know, Salt of the Earth. Well, some of you may not know, but Salt of the Earth we proclaim to be the forerunners on the understanding of the 400-year prophecy. As far as the work put out, the information put out, I think our information has been paramount. I think our information has been consistent, and our information has been profound. And we attribute all of that to the Most High for blessing us with this information. So the 400-year prophecy, that's something that, shalom and blessings to everybody. Shalom and blessings, shalom and blessings, Most High servant and to me. Peace and blessings. Right? So we've been the forerunners of putting out that information. And what I've noticed as we move forward and we start pushing the information more and more and start looking for dialogue on the subject, we're not with just those who agree with us, but those who vary in their understanding and disagree with us. We look forward to dialogue, discussions, debates, or whatever have you on the subject. And we open our forum for everyone to discuss it with us, as long as they're honest to a certain degree, because you can't expect honesty from everybody, right? But the UA community and Christianity as a whole run from this topic of the 400-year prophecy, and it's because they don't have the answers. All right, they don't have the answers, and they like to really divert your attention to or away from the points of contention, by bringing up 16, 19, or what have you. They like to do those type of things in order to distract you from the points of contention, right? So we had a little conversation, and I'm gonna share my screen now. We had a little conversation with your boy Abu. Me personally, it's a little bit off subject, but I don't believe he's one entity at all. I believe he could be possibly three. He could be John Mark Riser. He could be Vocab Balone. He could be all those different personalities all in one. But that's neither here nor there. That has nothing to do with this conversation, though. Moving on to this conversation that I had with Abu, right? I'm going to share some screenshots with you. We're going to get into this topic or this discussion I was having with him, and I want you to see how fast these guys run when you start talking about the real points of contention. All right, so let me share my screen with you real quick. Hold on, X a few things out first, because these guys are going to continue to run. And the reason why is because I don't want to sound puffed up, but they don't want the smoke. They don't want no smoke on the subject. They want to keep leading people astray. They want to keep claiming that people don't know what they're talking about, that a vast majority of Israelites are just misinterpreting scripture and we don't have any reading comprehension. Despite our people being highly educated, highly knowledgeable, they want to put off this misnomer and this negative stereotype about us being uneducated, you know. But let's move on. Let me share my screen now. Okay. So, chronological issues with the 400-year prophecy. That's what he entitled his video, right? Chronological issues with the 400-year prophecy, right? And I can agree on that. There are some chronological issues, right? We don't, in one of the more important chronological issues that we're dealing with is we're not seeing 400 years of affliction in Egypt, right? So let's move on. Let's see, because I like starting trouble, right? And I came in and I started it with him, right? And this is Abu Khmer al-Masih, whatever madness, all this. You could have just put Abu, or whatever. All right. So, Salt of the Earth Production says, hundreds of thousands of views on our teaching about the 400-year prophecy, and no one has addressed what was presented. We have been the forerunners of this teaching since 2016. Videos like this one have been and will be dismantled by us. All right? No lie. That's the truth of the matter. Right? People coming out with these videos and these videos that's not answering the points of the contention. In fact, before they even brought him up, before he made this video, it was dismantled. All right? And he says, well, you're always welcome to share your thoughts, objections, comments, etc., as well as recommend sources where more information can be found. Right? So recommend sources, you know, you can share your objections and all that. That's great. Appreciate that. Right? And I say thank you. Question. Would I be correct in assuming you believe that 400 years of affliction happened in Egypt? Right? So that's what I asked him. And look at his response. He said, I do not believe the land refers exclusively to Egypt. And that's where he messed up at. You know what I'm saying? You brothers see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He said exclusively to Egypt. Right? Now, this is how you deal with people like this. You don't go and say, oh no, it didn't. You go and you ask them questions, because that's when you find out they don't know what they're talking about. Questions always get them. So I said, boo, not exclusively Egypt. What other place would you say 400 years of affliction are exclusive to? Also, does Israelites, let me turn this off for a second. So I said, not exclusively Egypt, right? I said, what other places would you say 400 years of affliction are exclusive to? Also, does Israelites being afflicted in more than one place fit into the stipulations within Genesis 15:12 through 14? All right, so we all know the answer to that. And the answer to that is no. The Most High said that nation, that kingdom, those people, right? He didn't say these nations, these people, right? He didn't name them in the plural sense. He spoke on them in the singular sense. One particular nation would be responsible for these things, right? So when you start talking about exclusively not Egypt, exclusively not this place, and you talking about this happening in more than one place, and that doesn't fit the criteria of the scripture. It doesn't fit it in Genesis. Let's read it real quick. Let me pull up Genesis. Let me grab it. Genesis 15. Start at 12. Let's read it together, family. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham. And lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed should be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve I will judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. All right. So when we read these stipulations, we don't see many lands being mentioned here. In fact, we don't see the name of any land being mentioned here. All right. But one thing for sure is it's not speaking in a plural sense of lands, but it's speaking in the singular sense of one particular place. All right. Now let's move from that and go back to this dialogue I had with Abu. All right. So, hold on. Get back to this dialogue real quick. So, he says, I do not believe the land refers exclusively to Egypt, and that's when I asked the question. Now, what you will see is, look at the timestamp on that. That was 3 months ago. All right? And he never got back to me. Now, we was having a back and forth dialogue. Right? It was going back and forth. And then, as soon as I asked that question, all the comments stopped. Right? And the reason why is because he didn't have an answer for that. But what you're going to see is you're going to see him continue to run. Right? So I said, are you running? That's 3 months. 3 months ago, I asked him, are you running? And 3 days ago, 3 days ago, he says, greetings, salt of the earth, and my apologies for the long delay in reply. I wasn't running. Rather, due to the merit of the distraction and duties, I often lose sight of the various correspondence. However, I was reminded of this correspondent after seeing Yacoba post about the 400 years on Facebook. Right? So then he goes into this whole dissertation of what he said to Yacoba. But he didn't answer my question. All right? He didn't answer the question at all. And he goes more into talking about 1619. And that's what you'll see with them. They continue to try to distract you from the points of contention, which is if it happened in Egypt or not. If it didn't happen in Egypt, can you prove where it happened at? Right? They go on to 1619. That's where they move from. Right? Because that's the only argument they have. They can't argue with the word of the Most High. So I said, boo, would it not be efficient to confirm where it did not happen first? That is before one moves on to any specific dates. If the point of contentions are eliminated, the argument would cease. Right? So you can give me the answer to the question that I can't find, then what is there to argue about? If you can prove that it happened somewhere else, that kills the whole argument. 400 afflictions happen here. Bam. End of discussion. But they can't do it. So they move on to this 1619 and try to say that's a chronological issue. Well, look, if you don't have the place where it happened, then you're not in the position to argue where it's happening in that. Right? So, I said, when one reads Genesis 15 and 12 through 16, all the stipulations required for the completion of the prophecy do not come to pass. Thus, the logical question to ask would be when and where. And this is when the assumptions of which date comes in. Initially, we stayed away from dates, but we are now looking at events that are and have been happening for some time now, and we try to pinpoint a start date. We cannot discount. Oh yeah, that's another thing. You see, he tried to discount the date or the validity of the prophecy by saying, oh, people have thought this or thought that throughout history. They thought World War I and Pearl Harbor has something to do with the prophecy, but that don't have anything to do with what we're talking about. I said, we cannot discount events based on others who may have thought similar to us, because the scriptures, right? The scriptures tell us what constitutes judgment. Wars, rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, mass animal die-offs, rivers, lakes turning to blood red, disease, famine, signs in heaven, blood moon, eclipse, cycles that make an X on America. These were all the type of things that Egypt faced until they had no recourse but to let the children of Israel go. Right? So then he says, good morning. He said, to be fair, I never mentioned Egypt. Oh, no, I didn't skip down to the brother Eric's. But he said,
hey, bro.
Greetings. Yeah.
Increase your screen size a little bit if you can.
Oh, absolutely. Let me see. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, we just want to make sure everybody can see.
All right, great.
All right.
All right, so let's move on. Oh, so I gotta decrease it in order for me to move forward. Let's go back. So he says, it seems to me that looking at every other place in the world is going to be very long process. The scope of videos is more narrow, exploring two questions. One, for those who want to place a prophecy within America, why not start to count it? All right, so you jumping the gun. You bent on 1619, but you can't answer the question about whether or not Egypt was the place of the 400-year prophecy, right? You running from that. They running from the point of contention. See? And this guy, Abu or Vocab, or whoever he is, right? Everybody want to acknowledge this guy as being some type of authority in scripture and understanding, and he can't even answer a simple question, right? You notice he never answered my question about if it's exclusively Egypt or not. Why? Because they running, right? They don't want the smoke. They don't want no smoke because they're going to look like the idiots that they are, right? He said, an invitation to discuss the rest of the world seems like a long journey away from the scope of the video. All right, so it's not away from the scope of the video. We talking about the chronological errors, right? We talking about differences in the time frame that's mattering according to what one is interpreted. But you want to skip to 1619 as to say like, oh yeah, it's really misleading because it's like you jump into 1619 as if there's no foundation or no reason why people were coming to that conclusion. So you're putting the cart before the horse, right? So I said that's the most important part of the discussion. Seeing it could not have happened in Egypt, and it is, right? You don't jump from point A to point Z. You got to go from point A, B, C, D, and down in order to get the right understanding. But you want to ridicule, and you want to paint a narrative of Boo in the UA community. You want to paint this narrative that Israelites and those who believe certain things within our community are nutcases, or we crazy for believing what we believe. If somebody's seen this video and they've never read Genesis 15, 12 through 14, or they've never seen the videos and they look at your information, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, those people talk about 1619, they don't know what they talking about. Like, wait a minute. No, we know what we talking about. It's you that don't know what you're talking about, Boo. You don't know. That's why you running. You running the 100-mile dash, brother. Or now I'm not gonna even call him brother. You know, cause he definitely not our brother. But he goes on and he says, greetings, salt of the earth. You don't gotta keep greeting me. Like, you already said, what's with this greeting? It's like, it's almost like it's, what do they call it? Like a teleprompter or something, man. Like, come on, don't stop. Just stop greeting me. He said, I do not agree that such is the most important question related to the focus of this video. Well, this video is about the chronological errors. Consider the analogy. Suppose a person proposed the prophecy applied to Iraq, which itself has slavery for quite a few centuries. If a second person raised the question objected regarding the stance, the proponent of the Iraq view would be addressing those concerns simply by replying, but it's not Egypt. No, that's not. Right? Nobody's saying it's Iraq for one. And two, right, if they came to that conclusion in Iraq, they would have to have some type of scripture leading up to that. All right? In which we do have. Right? And as you do see within this conversation, we had a valid argument with questions that he could not answer. All right? We're talking about slavery here. Somebody in Iraq, they don't got 400 years of affliction going on in Iraq. Nobody's commemorating 400 years of affliction in Iraq or anywhere else. All right? So the truth of the matter is there's bills being drawn up that acknowledge the affliction being here for 400 years. Whether you want to call it HR 22 or I don't even keep up with those bills. What's the name of that bill, brother? Do you brothers know what the name of it is?
It's HR 1242.
HR 1242. All right. Now that in itself is not proof, but it acknowledges that we've been afflicted for 400 years. Can you find a bill that's written up anywhere else in Iraq that says that? No, you can't. Abu. So
Hey,
yeah.
also, man, people act like that's something that we asked for. You know what I mean? When that came up, you know, they didn't realize that the bill didn't mention nothing about us leaving or nothing like that. It didn't even really mention anything tangible.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It just acknowledged the amount of time we've been afflicted here. You know? And you got people coming out and saying, oh yeah, they want y'all to believe. Come on, man. They don't want us to believe no 400-year prophecy is about us. Why would they be doing that? They don't acknowledge us being Israel. In order for them to do that, they would be saying, oh, you guys are Israel. We want you to acknowledge yourself as Israel. They're not doing that. All right, let's move on to the brother Ibri's conversation, because Abu ran the whole time. He ran the 100-yard dash, right? And I guarantee you, the whole UA community would do the same thing. They'd follow suit. We had Alton up here. We had people up here who wasn't a part of the UA. But what you would see is the general theme of the discussion would be them running and them not knowing nothing about what the 400-year prophecy is about. All right. Now let's move on to the brother Ibri. And logical question, right? He just asked the question, right? Can you prove that 400 years of affliction happened in Egypt? Right now, watch the running again. Greeting, Ibri. Thank you for the comment. To be fair, I never mentioned Egypt in the video. And on a technical note, one wonders does the text 15, Genesis 15, necessarily require that the afflictions part occur entirely within the land? What? So he's still going along with that. It's not exclusively in the land thing, but he didn't answer the question that I asked. Does that fit the stipulations that's written in the Bible? It don't. So the brother Ibri replies and says, long story short, your answer is no. You can't answer it. And then he said, can you tell me where 400 years of affliction occurred? Logical questions. That's a logical question, right? And he says, honestly, and with all due respect, look, now he's getting frustrated because he can't answer it. Honestly, with all due respect, I have to wonder about these attempted subject change. And you changed the subject, right? Israelites were the forerunners speaking about this. You guys poke your nose in our business and start talking about we don't know what we talking about. You want to try to create a narrative and then jump the gun and start talking about it's where you say it started from. It ain't about 1619. It's about the scripture, what the scriptures say. See, but these people don't believe in the Bible. These heathen don't believe in the Bible, right? He says, as I noted in previous replies to you, the topic of this video is concerned about a Merocentric interpretation of Genesis prophecy. Why not discuss that? So he talking about the Merocentric topic, but you talking about Israelites, right? You talking about Israelites, right, brother? You talking about our understanding of the Genesis prophecy, right? So if we talk about the Genesis prophecy, then what's the issue? Are you talking about you're not talking about Israelites, right? You're not talking about us. You didn't make this video to try to debunk us, huh? All right, let's move on. And this is where the brother Ibri killed him, right? He said, I don't have a Mariocentric interpretation. In fact, I don't have an interpretation at all. Obviously, the Mariocentric interpretation is an error, and the topic is very vast to only consider the Mariocentric interpretation. And I know that your video is zoned in on the particular perspective. However, I'm asking for your expertise on the subject outside of that perspective. Can you show me where 400 years of affliction actually took place? All right. So the answer to that is going to be no, because he's not going to be able to show it. And this was just 2 hours ago. So to be all fair, let it stew on him for a while, And if this wasn't about Israelites, why do you have people in the comment section saying Dante Forson is a joke? If this was strictly zoning in on the Mariocentric interpretation of things, why are people mentioning Dante Forson for? Why are they mentioning Israelites? Because everybody knows what we believe, right? Everybody knows what we believe, and these UA guys are running and trying to create a narrative to make it look like we don't know what we're talking about. What was you going to say, brother?
You remember that show in Living Color? When Damon Wayans would play that character in prison that would use all of those big words to throw you off? Yeah. That's the kind of the vibe I get when I read his comments. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you taking stuff out of perspective and out of context, to try to fit whatever idea you want to try to bring out. You know what I mean? Instead of addressing the issue, where did the 400 years of affliction occur?
Yeah, those are simple, logical questions for one to ask. And I'm like, okay, if you can't answer that question, if you can't answer that, you really don't got no business speaking on anything concerning it. Like how I look like coming into an arena and I ain't trained for none of the combat that's going on in there. How I look like trying to school or correct somebody on something that I haven't myself studied or I don't have the answers to. Unless there's an agenda to suppress the information, which it is. It's just an agenda. They want to suppress the information. They want to turn people away from that because it opens up a can of worms that they can't answer. And that question is, if 400 years of affliction didn't happen in Egypt, right? Let's take it away from us, right? If 400 years of affliction didn't happen in Egypt, can you show us where it happened to anybody else? Or where it happened at? Show us the people that went through 400 years of affliction in a land that's not theirs. Show us the place where they went through slavery and affliction and oppression. If you can, because here's the thing. Because if you can't show us, then the people that you saying are the people by default, they not the people. Because they don't fit the prophecy. And that's what it's all about. And that's why a lot of people are scared to touch this. They don't want to touch this information. They don't want to touch the 400-year prophecy. Because they know it's going to open up that can of worms that shows that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. They run in their mouth and they just way off. They're way off, but they don't want to admit that.
And also, man, you know, we keep stressing the point that the stipulation is 400 years. And so if you're gonna, you know, pick a date, you know, we can just start from 70 AD. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Where does this 400 years of affliction apply? That's what we have to get to. If you're telling us that we're not fulfilling it now and it didn't happen in the past, that means we have 400 years of affliction to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Because the
Somebody
word has
does.
to be fulfilled.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And now I'm even speaking to those of our own people who go against it. You know, the prophecy is speaking of us. So if it's not talking about us now and y'all can't prove that it happened then the Most High's word has to be fulfilled.
Exactly. That's if you believe the Most High. You know, people want to be believing what the Most High say when it benefits their understanding. You know, we sat here and we've listened to people bring forth what they have issue with concerning our understanding, and we didn't run from it. We brought them answers. The brother Ibri, he brought the answer to the Amorites. The brother Kedar, he brought the answer to 1619. If you want to go there, it's not we not running from nothing. But we're not gonna jump the gun. We're gonna hold you to the same standard that you hold us to. Answer the question with a point of the contention that where it starts. You can't do that. Then keep your mouth quiet, boo. Vocab Malone, Berean, Alton. Who else? James White. James White won't touch it. Cause even though he's a heathen, he has some similitude of sense to know that he don't got a dog in that fight. You know? So leave it alone. Don't make no more videos on the 400-year prophecy. Cause y'all ain't got no business touching it. It ain't about y'all. The book ain't about y'all. You know? And for our brothers and sisters that are Israelites, hey, look, if you don't have the information, look, sit down, we can build. You know? You can teach us something and we can teach you something. But don't speak against it if you ain't got the answers to the points of contention. And that's all I wanted to say on this end. I kind of went over my time. Usually a quick hitter. It's not supposed to last this long, but kind of really got into it. Did you want to have any closing statements, brother? I know you got some good to add.
Well, just if you want to hit them with that Psalm 147 real quick, that's all I have.
Psalms 147.
Yeah.
Is there a particular verse in there?
He showed his word unto Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
his statutes and his commandments unto Israel. I want that.
All right.
If you want to hit him with that real quick, then that's all I have. Peace, y'all.
Psalm 147 and 19. He showed up his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Most High. All right. Peace and blessings, family. I hope all of y'all have an awesome day. Tune in tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific time for the Replacement Theology Part 2. We'll be on there tomorrow giving that lesson. And just have a blessed afternoon. Shalom and blessings.
Peace.
Peace.